The muse.
Lucky.
The muse.
Lucky.
I don't know. I think it's more than luck.
Yeah.
It's so appropriate that you say what you said in our last Zoom session, because when things start to come whole, it's usually the fruit of your labors. You know, that's what happens when you're writing every day. Every effort, you know, is one step closer to a more and more finished first draft. Thank you for posting it.
Oh, thank you. There's been a lot of really strong things lately being posted there.
Yeah.
I've cried more than once.
Man, you know, I was feeling really emotional last night trying to put that prompt together, because I wanted to use a newspaper line, and I hadn't known anything about that Virginia on air.
Oh,
yeah.
And I just couldn't move past it. It just was. So I hope the silence one was okay.
Awful.
I couldn't get. I just couldn't move beyond that after I read that story. It was awful. So, we have one to go.
And yet we are a gun society.
Yeah, we sure are. I don't know.
No, but no one wants to admit that you'd be better off without it.
No, I know. It would be nice to think there was a threshold, but I think maybe there isn't a threshold. Well, anyway, I didn't hear back from Catherine, and I didn't hear from
Kylie.
They might join in, and if they do, great. We can just pivot to their work. But in the meantime, if there's anything that you want to talk about in this last hour, any questions, any observations, really anything. I'm just here to enjoy the pleasure of your company, so.
Well, I just posted something about silence.
Oh, great.
And I don't know if anybody read it yet.
Not yet.
It's sort of my saying goodbye and kind of feeling overwhelmed with gratitude and affection for everyone. And it's meant a tremendous amount to me to be part of this group. And I just said, I'm going to break my silence and let you all know that I love you, and I benefited enormously from this association, and I admire your work.
Me too.
So I just thank you all for all your kindness and generosity toward me. So I put that all in this over emotional.
I love it. I love that you used it.
Superlative written.
I'm looking for it. Look.
So yeah, I'm gonna miss it a lot. You know.
Oh, yeah. You go through withdrawal.
What are your writing life plans for Saturday?
Me? Everybody?
Me, anyone, yeah. I mean, you've definitely earned a vacation. You know, it's really hard work.
I actually have to go back to some visual work. I find I need to take a break on the weekends and go do something visual.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, writing is visual, but I just have to go do something without words, or very few words. So I'll probably do some more drawing or painting.
Great. And Marty, do you have your newspapers ready to go?
I was saying on my today with the poetry instructor, we were saying our goodbyes, and I said, you know, she's mentioned several times I have such a strong sense of meter.
Oh, interesting.
And I said, well, I grew up in a musical family, and I hear meter a lot. And then I laughed and I said, even when I read the newspaper, I put things in meter. And I have to stop myself and say, this is just a newspaper article. And so we were laughing about that. I want to keep on writing every day because, of course, I start up again in a month in another class through Stanford on prose writing, and I don't want to be starting from ground zero again. I want to be current and alert, and I call this my writing therapy group because it feels like a woman's group or a group therapy or a wonderful kind of writing therapy group. So.
Marty?
Yep, I'll probably keep on writing, and I'm always working on some kind of a poem. So.
Oh, that's great. I love that strong meter thing. That's great. I mean, that's not. I really had to suffer to have a sense of meter and learn how to scan things. It just did not come naturally to me at all. So that's wonderful. And
well, you have a pretty nice bio about being a poet. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
And I went nosing around online, and I kept saying, "Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!"
Yeah. Yeah, I write the poems, but I really enjoyed this prose class. I thought it was great. It was great for me, and I tried to write along with everyone as often as I could. But I think that I probably only got to like complete maybe 30% of the prompts. Can anyone say with certainty 50 out of 50?
What?
I saved it.
That they wrote all of them?
Uh-huh.
What was the 50 out of 50 what? That we wrote all of them?
Did you write today? Did you write in response to all of the prompts thus far? So 49 out of 49?
Yes.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
Very good. I'm probably around, I don't know, 40 to 45, somewhere in there.
It's great too.
Yeah.
What about
But
you?
I see, I'm actually the last few prompts I've saved, and I'm taking longer to work on them.
Mm-hmm.
So like the last one, the refusal one, that was like a 24-hour one. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So Marty's enrolled. She's going to do nonfiction, you said, or
fiction?
And no, it's fiction.
fiction? Okay.
I'm going to forget the name of it.
Yeah.
We have to. It's focused on developing a character. The first part of the course, we develop at least 2 characters, and then the second part of the course, we have to write 3 chapters of a novel. So it's very, very character intense and novel intense.
That's great.
So.
You can get a lot of work done. Well,
I'll get a lot of writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here comes honey.
Well, those of us who are pushing 80 have to keep at it.
Right.
Right? Hi, honey.
I apologize. Hi, everyone. For some reason, I thought this was at 8:30.
Yeah, I
I
had
don't
it.
know
I
where.
think it was originally.
It
And
was
then it got
originally
changed.
it was changed to 8, yeah.
But all of a sudden, I thought, I'm just going to check because we have company over for dinner. And I just said to my friends,
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to check the phone. And all of a sudden, it's at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
I'm flaunting my multi.
So hi, everyone. And
Hello.
I'll miss you all.
Yeah. Same.
Very much.
We're not up to anything critical. We're just kind of hanging out. And
Oh,
talking.
you're hanging out.
Yeah. Wondering what your writing plans are for Saturday. Or maybe more relevant question is your writing plans for Monday, because it will,
Monday?
Well, yeah, it'll be the first weekday in 50 days that you haven't.
Oh, that I haven't had a prompt.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm gonna lock myself in my writing room and start writing that piece that I've been saying I'm going to be writing since I started taking classes a year ago. I'm writing, which I've said ad nauseum, I'm writing for the text to go with a visual art project that I have done called The Jessups. It's on my website, whatever. So now I'm going to do it. So that's what I'm going to do on Monday.
Great.
I hope, maybe. But on Friday, I'm going to New Orleans. So I won't be writing.
Mm-hmm.
What's everyone else doing on Monday?
You'll be eating beignets and drinking coffee.
I'm going to work on silence. I love today's prompt of silence. And I actually sent what I wrote to my former studio mate, whom I met when I was the social worker to his dead lover, about silence. And it's that prompt, like every other prompt, and I don't know, maybe you all feel the same way I do, but I had an idea of what I was going to write, and it just went somewhere completely different. Like all of a sudden it became, you forgot silence equals death? What are you, nuts? And so of course it went into a completely political thing.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Hi, Inez.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Everyone.
Good. Inez, where are you?
Yeah, you're in a different room.
I'm in a different room. I'm in my, technically it's my husband's study.
Oh, okay.
He hasn't completely unpacked. So that's why you see a box over here. But yes, I'm in my husband's study. It was an easier place to do this today.
Yeah. Got it.
Not in my usual room.
Well, how has it been for you, Kirsten? I mean, what's our class been like, or what do you want us to think about, or what wisdom do you want to leave us with?
I think it's a crucial question.
Feel no pressure.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel much pressure because I'm certain that I'm incapable of dispensing wisdom. But I can say that I think in the next week or so, it might be valuable to lend yourself a little break. To kind of like Bea had mentioned, Inez and Honey, before you logged on, that she was going to go back to some working with visual art a bit over the
Oh,
next few days.
wonderful.
Just to try to be intentional about, I think the biggest thing to be gained from the last 10 weeks is that you've cultivated an intentional approach to writing and hopefully reap the benefits of it, which is the benefits you reap when you do any creative activity with consistency. Is you feel more aware, you feel more in tuned with your own intellectual activity, your own metaphorical thinking, and all that sort of stuff. But you do have to stop. You've got to stop and take time away, just like you have to take time away from an early draft and put it in a drawer. And if you look at it 3 hours after you write it, you're not going to see the right stuff. You're not going to see what you need to see unless a little bit of time passes. But that doesn't mean that you want to stop engaging with that idea of intellectual intention and creative intention. It just means you turn your gaze elsewhere. Like you're really thoughtful about your garden or meal planning or the textiles that you're putting on your body or something, but you're still thinking in that way. You give yourself a little break if you need to, and then maybe you set up a system of accountability to re-enter just as quickly. I mean, it sounds like many of you are re-enrolled, and so you know when.
What are people taking? What are you taking, Inez?
I'm taking a short story class with Andrea. I think it's pronounced Newman. Is that her?
Me too.
I don't know her, but the class looked intriguing, and since I've discovered this desire to write fiction, which I'm finding is very, it's very challenging. Like all writing, I think I remember you saying that once, Honey, that writing is hard.
Yep.
But I thought if I signed up, even with my crazy schedule, it would keep me going. I mean, we all have crazy schedules. Everybody's got a lot, but that it would keep me going. My fear was that if I didn't sign up, it would just grind to a halt for a while, maybe longer than I wish it were.
Yep.
But I'm looking forward to having a few weeks where maybe I just jot a little bit here and there and write a little bit without feeling a lot of pressure.
Yeah, or read more than you write. And did you hear Lee's going to be there with you, Inez?
Oh, wonderful. It'll be great to see you there, Lee. And I still owe you feedback. I'm way behind. I still have 2 people, Lee and Catherine, that I owe feedback. But I think the boards stay up for a week or two, Kirsten, and we can check them again. Is that true or not true?
No, it is true. You'll have access for, I think, 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's been the custom. They usually have 2 weeks. Now, this is a new system. It's the pilot system. So I can confirm that with Teresa, who's been kind of our tech troubleshooting go-to person, and make sure that I'm right about that. But yeah, they'll be open for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I have this limited storage ceiling with Vimeo where I can't upload the workshops as frequently as I would like to. So I'm going to continue to do that and send you updates via logging into the course and letting you know they're available to see, think about again.
Well, what are you going to do on Monday, Kirsten?
God, Monday. I don't know. My gosh. I'm gonna be like,
go to the beach.
I'm going to be buzzing with freedom. You know, I have this summer gig at an art gallery in Provincetown. I'm the gallery director. And so my day will be the same, but my early mornings and my nights will be very lonely and quiet. I don't know. I might actually have to have dinner with my husband or something like that.
Imagine that, dinner with the family. Oh, yeah, it's now, did I recall you saying, honey, that you're going to take a class somewhere? I thought I heard you say that, but maybe
I am taking a class. I'm taking a fiction class at 24 Pearl Street.
Cool.
That starts in October. And there's another class I looked at today at 24 Pearl Street that is about memoir. But I have to make myself not take classes and get to work. I haven't really taken a picture in a long time, and my photography friends who've known me for 20 some years and know that I've been doing this say, well, you know, that's what happened. Maybe you want to write now. But I feel like I miss the experience of holding my camera. So anyway, so I'm taking fiction. I found that I really had the most fun. I'm sure it'll get ruined once it's an assignment, but I had the most fun in the prompts where I was writing fake dialogue and I made up characters, and I really liked writing fiction. So I felt like that's where my voice sounds more authentic even when I'm making it up. So although I did Vote It Out was hardly fictional. I'm gonna revise Vote It Out based on the comments I got in this class, and I'm hoping that it's the last revision of it, that I don't have to do more work on it.
Yeah, that's a powerhouse piece. I think you have to.
It is. It really is. I mean, I was impressed with the quality of the pieces in the workshops. I mean, I'm thinking of all you ladies here, B, and I want to read more about Jane and see where else you go, and Lee, your piece, which I'm still going to write to you about why it was moving, not to get too personal, but my husband's dad died when he was 8, and I have to say when I read it, it just resonated with some of the conversations that we've had. So it was kind of a hard piece of work. It was a hard piece to read in some ways. I mean, but also incredibly moving. And so yeah, I was impressed with the quality of the writing. It was just so incredible to read all your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, back at you, and thank you.
Thank you to all of you. It's been and to you, Kirsten. It's been an incredible experience. It's hard work and it's hard to engage every day, but you kept us going. I mean, I could say for me personally, you kept me going.
Well, I'm so glad to hear it, because the summer is always, I've only taught 2 summer classes, and I've been teaching in the Online Writers Studio now since 2008, so for 7 years. And summer is always slow. You know, we always have like, I've really pushed for that merge, because it seems like we had consistent heavy users and it didn't make sense for you guys to operate in spheres that were parallel or connecting. And my hope is that you don't feel like your experience was diminished because the course, the enrollment numbers, the course size increased. To me, it seemed like important, especially to the section that Inez and in B, you were in that quieter.
Yeah, we were in the same section from the beginning, which was nice, but it did seem like a small group of people having.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think the group.
It got a little smaller later.
It was like 5 people.
Yeah.
From the
It was
beginning.
5 people, and then at one point it was 4. So, and they were great conversations, but it was small.
Yeah.
I can't believe people spend $800 and
I thought about that too, actually. I thought that's a lot. I mean, and I know I've taken classes where I start to kind of taper, but at least I try to stick with it as long as I can.
Yeah.
It's happened in every class I've taken. I feel
Is
like
it common?
not
There's-
this much. Not the section we were in. I've never seen it drop like that. I see like 20% kind of drop off, but this was like we were the 20% and like 80% dropped off. That's what it felt like.
Right. And it was early, which disturbed.
Yeah, like they never even got going. They never a few did introductions, and that was about it.
Right. So
well, then
maybe
they didn't lose their money.
yeah. But
They dropped out when they. I think that the classes that my friends are taking that are doing serious 8,000 word manuscripts, memoir writing, the creative nonfiction 2 and 3. I don't get the sense that there's any dropout because the people who are doing that are writing books or they're committed to these ginormous manuscripts and they're working their heads off. But in each class that I've taken, this is the number that has always shown up for Zoom.
Oh
And
yeah,
this is the number that gives comments with any regularity. And my friends just asked me if there were any men in the classes, and I said that in my classes before, there were men who started, but one of my friends just made a point saying, well, maybe they figured out they don't want to talk about themselves, or it's too much, and they're uncomfortable with. Was it this class? I have no brain, and I've had a glass of wine, which makes me even more suspicious. But was it this class in the beginning where we were there was a guy and we were talking about conflict, and his position was, why do you have to have conflict to have good writing?
Oh, I remember that.
I think
Yeah.
And then he disappeared. His example of no conflict was the dinner date, and they went out to dinner and they ordered food and then they left, and see, there was no conflict and you don't have to write with conflict. And then he disappeared.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe it's true. It got too conflicting. I mean, men just what. I mean, I've never read anything that I've enjoyed. A conflict doesn't mean people are getting divorced.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
conflict is something, a problem to be solved.
Mhm.
Well, it reminds me of my sophomore year English class, and the teacher, and I was the typical snarky, teenager. She says, well, something about literature without conflict. It's like, well, people who are dead. And she said, exactly. If you're dead, there's no conflict.
Right.
I mean, I was a teenager. What can I say? I was 15. But the idea is, there's always going to be something.
Well, why would you read it? Why would you? What would engage you?
Right. Exactly.
If there's not a mystery or there's not
something that you want to figure out, or something.
But I don't want to criticize him. I just wanted to say that he, and then he disappeared. And that seemed to happen, like the first class that I took, there was a man in it who said that he was even older than I am. And his daughter thought if he took writing, it would help his memory. And I was thinking, wow, I didn't even think that could happen. That's so great. Maybe I'll get my memory back. And he wrote like 2 things and then he was gone. And one by one, the men just like poof, vanished, especially as the essays got more intense. Like my first class, you can thank me for giving you voted out. My real essay that I've been working on forever has to do with sexual assault. And so that was a little harder to read. It's not an unusual story that women have to tell.
No, it isn't at all.
But oh no, it's so boring. I mean, it's so pedestrian now. It's like, who wasn't molested? But so writing about molestation in a way that is not boring or unique. But women were writing things that were really difficult, and suddenly there were no men left. Is that your experience, Kirsten?
The last class I taught was a poetry class.
Yeah, we had guys in that.
And we had a really pretty consistent male presence. We had 3 or 4 male students.
Yep.
It might be content-based. There might be something to that. I mean, the structure of that class was it was form first, there was a very neutral frame up for all of the conversations. I've also taught a class that I'm going to teach again, honey, that we had spoken about in a different program. And Inez, you were enrolled in.
The one about writing with children?
Yeah, writing.
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. I mean, I have to say I sort of petered at the end. And at the risk of frightening you, Kirsten, I was thinking of taking it again because I looked at some of the essays and I still have unfinished business there.
Yeah.
That was a great class. And we did have some men in the class.
Who were finding it was hard to write with their children?
There were a couple of men who might have stuck with it, but the majority were women. We might have had 1 or 2. I can't remember anymore.
Then what does it have to do with having children, Kirsten?
The course itself?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, isn't the title of your summer class is how to be a writer when you have young children? Isn't that what you're talking about?
The tricky dance of being a writing parent, I think it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a very, it's just about stealing time. That's what the course
I think it attracted a lot of us with younger kids who feel like, I mean, I have had moments where I feel like, oh my gosh, who am I now? Especially since I had a kid as an older person,
But
and,
and
how do you find time, the balance?
Right. And people are wary of writing about the parenting experience. Like, honey, I think of your essay and how powerful it was, and it was very well received. But oftentimes people are wary of writing about that experience, and so the course is modeled a bit on kind of looking to the canon and seeing how many great novels are about family life and raising a child who becomes a monster, or I mean, this is an ancient human activity, and it's only I feel like in the very recent past that people have kind of internalized this idea that it's a secondary topic, in terms of literary value. So that's kind of the mission. That's what drives the class for me, why I want to teach it again. But to go back to the proportions of men and women enrolled in the classes, it seems like there are usually more women than men enrolled, but this is definitely one of the only classes I've taught where we've had no men in Zoom. I don't think we ever had a man join our Zoom.
I never had a man in any of my Zooms, but my friends who were doing those long memoirs the men have been as present.
Right.
Because they're invested in 8,000 words.
You need to write that. I've never had any men in my Zoom.
In your Zoom.
That's something else. Okay?
That should be a prompt.
That could be a prompt. I've never had any men in my Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
My Zoom is man-free. Menless.
You could start out, I didn't know I had a Zoom.
Exactly.
Something else.
Or if you don't have a man, do you still Zoom?
Exactly.
Or Gloria Steinem would say, you don't need a man to Zoom.
Yeah.
For those who remember the bicycle quote.
There's a great Steinem documentary available on HBO, as well as, it reminds me, a documentary on Susan Sontag.
Oh.
So have you seen it, Bea?
No, but she's so fascinating that I'd love to see it.
It's a real
It's pretty fascinating.
And I love documentaries too. I'm just like anything nonfiction I just really adore. I love people's lives, and I love the process behind what people do. I love that.
Right. Yeah. This is it might be a really fun way to pivot and like have fun and relax, but still keep one foot in what you've been doing for the last 10 weeks. And that the thrust of the documentary is about how to maintain your writing life and how she did that.
Gloria?
Susan Sontag.
Oh, okay. I got lost with.
Yeah.
Well, imagine that she spent her life with Annie Leibovitz.
I know.
Yeah, that's even more fascinating.
It's
And
incredible.
then she had a son earlier with earlier marriage was what I remember. I mean, I still love her book on photography.
Yeah, me too. Well,
Incredible book.
I read that like decades ago.
but it would be a good reread. I was opening the door to a store in New York, and as I opened the door, Gloria Steinem was standing right here. And I went, because I didn't know what to do. I mean, Ms. Magazine came out when I was in college, and she's like my idol. And I must have stood there for a while, and finally she said, "Excuse me, I really need to go." I was absolutely paralyzed by not knowing. I said, "Oh, I just wanted to say thank you." Like, oh, okay, that's cool. I've never heard that. Thank you. I'm glad I stood here for an hour waiting for you to utter the words. But when I was a new mother, I ran a hotline for 6 years for parents of children 0 to 1. And our Bible was Letty Cotton Pogrebin's book, Raising Free Children. And Letty Cotton Pogrebin had twins. And Robin Pogrebin has a byline at the New York Times. So that apparently Letty did a fine job with Gloria. But that was my Gloria Steinem deer in the headlights. What do you say to Gloria Steinem besides thank you? Like, what
I
an
had
asshole.
But experience with Annie Lamott. I'd taken workshops, but I bumped into her one day in a bookstore up in Marin area. I mean, really, literally bumped into her, and I just babbled and blorbled and carried on. She's darling. She just stood there in all of her dreadlocks and said, "Well, you're just really working yourself up."
That's perfect.
And that said, "Excuse me, I need to leave."
That's so funny. Oh.
And Gloria, boy, it's I mean, she was. I mean, in New York, you see a famous person on every street corner, and you don't care because that's where they live. But Gloria Steinem changed my life. I mean, she really changed my life. All of our lives. I mean, in one way or another, we owe a real debt of gratitude to her. She was really brave.
Honey, talking about the hotline reminded me that I couldn't remember if I'd recommended to you a book of poetry by Mark Doty called.
I can't believe you're recommending Mark Doty.
Bethlehem in Broad Daylight.
You did not suggest that to me, but Matthew Siegel in my first class suggested that I read Heaven's Coast.
Oh yeah,
I'm not sure why he suggested it, but he did. And I loved that book. And so I wrote to Mark Doty like right away.
Yeah.
Because I mean the whole thing was about AIDS. It was like a reading history.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's the name of the poetry book?
It's called Bethlehem in Broad Daylight.
And why are you recommending this?
Well, there's a poem in there called Tiara about attending a funeral here in Provincetown of a friend of his in the late 80s. And I was just thinking about how you've written a few times about the work you did as a social worker with, was it HIV positive men at around that time?
There were also, I started the first support group for women with HIV in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
But that's like, for me, it's like reading And the Band Played, like being forced to go into a bathroom, close the door and read And the Band Played On Again from back to front. But I would suggest you read Paul Manette. If you love poetry, you should read Paul Manette's Elegies to Roger, because he, without question, is my favorite HIV poet. He won the National Book Award for
I got it. Okay.
Becoming a Man, Half a Life. Elegies, I think, are the best thing that Paul ever did. Paul ended up being a friend of mine because we literally, Paul is the reason I ended up working in HIV. I met him on a cruise, on a small boat, after his lover had died. The book that I read was, if you're interested in reading a beautiful book about loving someone who's going to die, AIDS it could be anything, is a book called Borrowed Time, a memoir to my lover who died of AIDS. I read the book, and I felt that he was describing my relationship with my sister, who had been very sick for 30 years. And I didn't know anything about AIDS. It's a beautiful story. And you said something recently, Kirsten, that made me think of, and I don't remember what it was, but it made me think of a line from Borrowed Time. I did a fundraiser in Cleveland where we actually wrote a play based on Paul's words, and it was called Country Beyond Tears. And Paul said, when you are with your love and you hear this terrible news, you go to the moon, right to the moon, and you live in a country beyond tears. And I've watched more people get terrible diagnoses, including my own sister, and that is precisely what I believe happens. And you do live in a country beyond tears because you don't have time to fall apart while you're negotiating illness. So Paul Manette, and so he wrote these elegies to Roger that are just gorgeous.
I found them online just now, and I'm not familiar with them at all, so I appreciate
with Paul. Well, you will be. And actually, what when I was writing about silence, so I started a company when I worked in HIV called Night Sweats and T Cells, and it was a silk screening company to employ people only with HIV because they couldn't work. And T-shirts are popular. This is when Magic Johnson came out, so we made a shirt that said, "We need more than magic." But we had a quote, the Yehuda quote that I had in silence, which I haven't thought about it in 25 years, that just fell out about not being a bystander. I mean, I forgot how powerful silence equals death is. And it was an AIDS mantra, but it really came from the Holocaust because of being a bystander. Anyway, Paul Manette is a beautiful writer. He was a gorgeous man. A documentary was done about him east of something. I can't remember what it was. And 2 documentarians followed him around. I think they filmed him when he died. And boy, well, I mean, anyway, it's a chapter in my life that got me to go to art school. I mean, I just literally couldn't do it anymore. It just took over. I mean, I was the age of everyone who was dying. And also, isn't this boring? I mean, we used to have a saying that said, I hate it when I lose a friend who didn't die, because I lost a lot of friends because I couldn't believe they didn't care. And people really didn't care, or didn't want to care, didn't want to know about it. And recently someone just said to me, "Oh, you must be really happy now that AIDS is like having diabetes." I wanted to say, well, first of all, having diabetes really sucks. And second of all, having AIDS is not like having diabetes.
Right, exactly, on both counts, right.
You can also have unprotected sex as a diabetic, and you cannot have unprotected sex when you're HIV positive. Other than that, I think they're exactly alike. People are, anyway. I spent a year at the Cleveland Institute of Art. They accepted me to work in the studio and do self-portraits of what madness looked like. If that gives you a little hint of how I spent my summer vacation.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I mean, it really, you can't watch hundreds of people die and not be affected. And so using a camera and not talking was a great change of pace. It also taught me a lot about how disgusting our healthcare system is, and it doesn't seem to have gotten any better since I last did it. And anyway, I'm a writer now, and I'm writing about silence and coming to see my house with the servants' quarters, which I hadn't thought about that in a long time.
Good.
So read Paul Manette, go back into time.
Oh, I will.
And because Dodie,
What's his last name, honey?
Monette. I'll tell you this one little anecdote. My husband and I were going on a cruise. We didn't have a honeymoon. We didn't have any money, and we were married for 15 years. We decided to take this trip. I've just finished reading Borrowed Time, and I'm a book jacket. I stare at photographs, so I recognize them. So I'm like, it's like seeing Gloria Steinem. So I say, "Are you an author?" And he's excited, and he said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. I just finished your book." So this is how naive I am. People on the boat said, "What was his book?" "Oh, his book was Borrowed Time. It was an AIDS memoir to his lover who died." So that was making sure, without my knowing it, that no one would ever have dinner with his current lover, and him for the entire time we were on the boat.
Wow.
So who would think that would happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that fun? Aren't you happy I showed up?
Go for a walk.
It's a good
It always
story.
makes you feel better. Go for a walk or clean the kitchen floor or something.
Oh, I don't do it anymore. It was a very important thing that I did. I helped a lot of people. I'm proud of it. I just,
Well, can I read you the poem that I was thinking of, honey? And
yes.
Everyone will enjoy it. It's called Tiara by Mark Doty. Peter died in a paper tiara cut from a book of princess paper dolls. He loved royalty, sashes, and jewels. "I don't know," he said when he woke in the hospice. "I was watching the film festival on Channel 57, and then at the wake, the tension broke when someone guessed the casket closed because he was in there in a big wig and heels. And someone said, he's always late. He probably isn't here yet. He's still fixing his makeup." And someone said he asked for it, when all he did was go down into the salt tide of wanting as much as he wanted, giving himself over so drunk or stoned it almost didn't matter who, although they were beautiful, stampeding into him in the simple, ravishing music of their hurry. I think heaven is perfect stasis poised over the realms of desire, where dreaming and waking men lie on the grass while wet horses roam among them, huge fragments of the music we die into in the body's paradise. Sometimes we wake not knowing how we came to lie here, or who has crowned us with these temporary, precious stones. And given the world's perfectly turned shoulders, the deep hollows blued by longing, given the irreplaceable silk of horses rippling in orchards, fruit thundering and chiming down, given the ordinary marvels of form and gravity, what could he do? What could any of us ever do but ask for it? And that's the one.
Wow.
So maybe that's a good segue into our farewell of everyone telling us what to read. What must we read?
It's making me think of Marie Howe. I got her 3 books from the library a few weeks ago. She's just marvelous when she talks about her brother.
Yeah.
Is she a poet?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can send a link well, Kirsten's talked about her before. Kirsten got me going on her, but she has like a lovely reading voice.
Yeah, she does.
And somehow the poems, I think, come almost more alive in voice than they do on the paper. Some of the ones on the paper, I was a little, I was reading them aloud to the dogs last night. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. They don't sound quite the same. So I recommend her. And I'm also going to get Elizabeth Alexander's memoir.
Oh, yes, I heard about it.
I forget what the name of it is.
That sounds really good. Transparent crayons. I'm like, oh, I forgot all the crayons on the floor.
Oops.
That's okay.
What's a memoir called, honey? I can't remember.
Oh, I have a million quotes from it, so I can look it up that way.
She's also, if you enjoy that memoir, she has an amazing book of essays called The Black Interior.
Yeah, I just listened to her. I got hooked on Krista Tippett, her interviews on Being, and she has one with Elizabeth Alexander.
Yeah.
And she just sounds so wonderful. She reads really well, but she also just sounds so down to earth, like you wouldn't be afraid of talking to her on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to talk to her on the street. I wrote her also. I read it. I loved it. I read it because I'm working on I did this photo essay about the year my sisters died, and I collect a lot of essays from the New York Times and stuff, and that people write. And God, I can't put my finger on it now. I don't know where it is, but I don't remember the name of it. So, but I wrote a lot of quotes. I took a lot of quotes before I took it back to the library from the book.
Yeah.
I really loved. But I loved it. I would recommend.
The Light of the World, maybe? Is it the light?
Pardon?
Is it the Light of the World, honey?
Yeah.
The Light of the World.
It's the light of the world. I just felt like
There's a slice of it in the New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and it's not fair, but it was, quote, an easier read for a lot of reasons than Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking.
Yeah.
The Year of Magical Thinking to me has so much edge to it that I'm attracted to. I mean, Jo Didion is rough. I mean, and Elizabeth's book about losing her husband and what that felt like didn't feel so hard. It felt sad and beautiful, and I imagined her being a poet. It was easier to read. Like, and I felt, there wasn't a happy ending for sure, but you felt like she was going to have one, that she was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And not that I don't think Joan Didion is okay, but Joan Didion, Elizabeth had more religion, and maybe that was the difference. There's a spiritual part of Elizabeth's life, whether it's from Africa, her husband's being African, or there was a higher powerness to her. And she writes about it. She writes about Jewish tradition and getting guidance from the rabbi at Yale. And I just felt like she was guided by faith in a way that I don't feel like Joan Didion or I are.
Well, I think the difference, and I'm just basing this on the New Yorker article, is that Elizabeth Alexander really describes her husband.
Oh my God. Okay, so look.
Joan Didion describes the absence of
See
her.
this?
Yeah.
This is the New York Times book review.
I've got that one too. I clipped that too.
And guess who wrote it? Because I wrote this to Kirsten. I almost fell over. But one of my favorite books that I read in the last month was The Long Goodbye by Megan O'Rourke.
Oh, yeah.
Writer, loved it. she wrote the book review to Elizabeth. The Light of the World, To Have Loved and Lost. I got the book because, oh God, B, that's too much. I can't believe it. And okay, so one of my first quotes from The Light of the World is, now I know for sure the soul is an evanescent thing and the body its temporary container, because I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw the body with the soul in it. I saw the body with the soul leaving. And I saw the body with the soul gone. Joan Didion would not write that.
No, she wrote about the absence.
Right.
Anyway,
And the
that's what made it easier and more in an uplifting way is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's more beautiful.
It's so, oh my God. I mean, I love this too. Oh my darling, where did you go? How powerfully I feel you are somewhere, but not here. Oh, I like this too. But I want rules. I want the prayers to say every day for a year at dusk, and I want them to be beautiful and meaningful. I want to sit Shiva and have the neighbors come at the end of the week and walk my family around the block to usher us into sunlight. Oh, and this is what her husband wrote. Her husband wrote, survivors stand startled in the glaring light of loss, but bear witness. If this is really made me think about AIDS, because we always talk about numb was a feeling. If no feeling is final, there is more for me to feel, that she wrote. And I just felt like she leaves you with this sense of, you know, I'm taking this somewhere else. It was a magic carpet ride in this book. So I'm glad we're clipping the same shit, babe. If you want to know any book that I've read recently, someone has generally died.
I like grief as well.
Yes, it's a language. You're talking about someone, the death at 8. My father died when I was 3. So I just always felt that the reason that I was comfortable working on an AIDS unit was it was the first place where everyone spoke a language that I was the only speaker of for most of my life. And when you work in terminal illness, you're talking about everything is ephemeral, and you're in a place where people can handle that. In the real world, when I say to someone, well, I'm gonna drop dead, so that's why why would you say that? You have 1,000,000 years left. I mean, that doesn't help me. I don't believe anyone has 1,000,000 years left.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Well, I'd say get back to me, but I won't be here to bear witness. But I'm hoping you're right and I'm wrong.
I saw Marty do this to someone off camera.
My daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter's over there.
You want to tell us anything that we need to read before you need to go?
No, I'm just getting caught up reading some novels, some Pulitzer Prize winning novels, and I'm not at the level of intense reading that you all do at all. So
I love novels. What are you reading, Marty?
What are you reading? Stop editing.
Well, I read All Light You Cannot See, and I read The Goldfinch.
I love
I just bought,
and I love
I just bought Anne Tyler, The Blue Thread, the blue, what is it, the blue spool thread, or spool of blue thread. I just bought that one. So that's kind of reading, just getting.
I have the gold.
I really didn't do anything for a long time but run a huge business.
Right.
Now I'm getting caught up.
Yeah. I've had the Goldfinch on my shelf for a while, but it's very thick.
It is, but it's fast reading. It's fast reading.
Is it? Okay.
Oh yeah, I love the Goldfinch. I loved All the Light You Cannot. I never read nonfiction until I started taking these classes. I hated it.
I read nonfiction all the time.
Well, now apparently it's all I'm reading.
The only fiction that I've read this summer is The Buried Giant.
And who's the?
And I stuck with it. I got through the whole thing. Kazuo Ishiguro.
Oh, okay.
Kazuo
I haven't
Ishiguro.
read that yet. I mean, I love him, but I haven't read that one yet. It's kind of a departure for him, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I guess he had a lot of, because I listened to an interview with him, a lot of people were questioning why he would go to like.
Right. Yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, I would still like to read it. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
Well,
I have to say, Kirsten, your prompt was really, I haven't worked on it yet.
The silence one?
Listening to Honey talk about silence equals death, and I think we're in a moment where staying silent is dangerous, and it really was a very evocative one. And I started thinking about different writers, and I'm reading Claudia Rankine's book right now.
Oh, I like her.
And I just started it, so I don't have a lot to say about it yet, but it does look like it's going to be a very powerful read. And I did start to think about her that I read for the first time when I was studying at Stanford, and had a powerful effect on me, especially as a young Mexican-American woman coming from Chicago, was Gloria Anzaldua's book, Borderlands, La Frontera. And unfortunately, she has now died. This is incredible. I don't know if any of you have read it, but it's a meditation. It's poetry, it's storytelling, it's mythology.
What is it?
It's a book by a writer. She was a Mexican American writer. I say was because, unfortunately, speaking of death, she died prematurely. I met her when I was in school, and
What's
then
her name?
What's her name?
Gloria Anzaldúa, A-N. Let me write it down. It's
Or
a
you
long,
can post it.
yeah, A-N on Anzaldua. And it's kind of a seminal book for a lot of people, a lot of women. I mean, she was writing at the intersection of being lesbian, Chicana, Mexican American, a woman, and really raising a lot of important, and not just political questions, but literary questions. I mean, I guess that's something, not to go on, and I know we're out of time, but who gets to write? Who gets published? It's also one of those questions that I think about a lot. It's like who gets to get their stuff out there? Not that I'm trying to put my stuff out there. I mean, I have no output to speak of. I'm writing for myself, but who gets to get out there and in front of us, and who doesn't?
So
Especially in
there's
schools.
this little free library program on the Outer Cape where I live in Truro and in Wellfleet, where there's these little wooden, maybe you guys have them where you live too, a little tiny little wooden house, looks like a birdhouse, and you open up and there's free books inside for you to read while you're at the beach.
Yes, we have a couple.
And I just pulled that book out yesterday. I said, "What is this?" Oh, what? I mean, really? Wow. Now
That is incredible.
yes.
Yeah, you were cutting out a little, but I think I caught that. My connection.
Got your book in the little box yesterday. That's what I was. So now I'm really excited. Yay.
I need to go, and I'm sorry to go, and I feel connected. So if you ever put together a list of people's names and email addresses or something, I would certainly put mine on that.
Well, if you Google me, you can always contact me.
Marty, before
I
you
know.
run out, can you not all see each other's email addresses in the people section of?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
Remember anymore. Maybe you can't.
No, I checked. On the profile, it says ways to contact, but there's no entry on editing your profile that allows.
You can't edit that even.
Okay.
You can edit it, but you can put in things like LinkedIn. So I put my LinkedIn
You
on
can't.
my profile.
Well, Marty,
Well,
what
I
I want to
wonder
do is set up a thread.
Yeah, one idea, maybe set up a thread, and then anybody who wants to participate can, and it's, you opt in.
Yeah, we'll do that. That's easy.
Okay.
I'm leaving. I
Goodbye.
don't want it to feel abrupt, but now I have a group of people waiting. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Marty.
Mine
Bye.
left.
Have a nice evening.
Um,
All right, guys.
Kristen, can I just ask you a question? I wanted to send you an email about, what's that?
Just found it next to the.
I love those. I have stuff like that for my nephew.
Go ahead, V.
We're going to get into puppets. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
I wanted to send you an email because I was curious. Oh, cute. I was curious about 24 Pearl Street and your advice on class taking, because I have